There's a lot of violent and bloody story games out there, but I haven't seen many that match the sheer level of death, gore and bodily destruction of the Resident Evil series. In these games, you are tasked with brutally murdering your way through the remains of a horrific biological disaster. And if there's any of these games that embodies that formula perfectly, it's Resident Evil 4. In this game, you, badass special agent Leon Scott Kennedy, have to go into the rugged wilderness of Spain, of all places, to save the oh so important Princess Peach, Ashley Graham, the daughter of the American president. To do this, Leon has to plow his way through a large congregation of technologically impaired peasants. And now I wanna know, how many of these poor plague-infested people and other creatures do you have to kill before achieving this humble goal? To do this, I'll be taking you over some more interesting moments of the game and introduce you to all the wonderful creatures of Resident Evil 4. The game begins when Leon and his local security escort arrive at the border of the area where Ashley's kidnappers are supposedly held up. One of the officers, oblivious to Leon's mission, warns him to be careful around these parts.
A lot of people have gone missing around here.
Not 1 minute later, this same officer steps out of the vehicle and walks into the forest to pee. Alone. When, to no one's surprise, he doesn't return, it's Leon's turn to solo sprawl through the forest. Luckily for us, Leon is not some lousy Castilian policeman. This man is not bound by such pitiful things as doubt or constraint. No, when Leon encounters an aggressive local, he immediately kicks the shit out of him so hard, his fucking neck snaps in half. Like a true American shoot. But his attacker is now as dead as the rocks he's lying on. And somewhere in his mind this does make Leon feel a tiny bit bad.
This is not good.
Fortunately for Leon, he soon discovers the body of the missing officer, which is not in all too great of a shape. But at least he doesn't have to feel quite as bad about killing that guy now. He also gets a radio call from Officer Bimbo too. But for Leon this has no importance whatsoever, because look who comes stumbling back into the room. This time Leon makes sure to slaughter this guy without mercy. And this I will count as his first kill. Leon then remembers his mission again. Rescue Ashley, whom is currently being held somewhere near the local lake. One small problem. The lake is a bit far away. And whilst Leon might be a badass, him, his muscles and the one pistol he brought with 10 whole bullets might just fall a bit short if he encounters more of these suspiciously resilient people. For that reason, Leon resorts to borrowing some stuff from the locals. And wouldn't you know it, he finds a box of perfectly usable 9mm ammunition. What's the chance of that? Also some money. Yoink! And finally, some very angry peasants. Wonder what they're mad about. Well, better shoot them before you have to start asking any questions. And whilst they're dead, might as well, The rest of the way to the lake is pretty uneventful. That is, until Leon discovers where all those nasty people have been coming from. He also discovers the answer to the question of where the fuck did that other police officer go. Of course, even an entire village worth of those murderous bastards was no match for the muzzle of Leon's gun. And against all expectations, the remaining villagers acknowledged the reality and pussied back into their church. Which was a bad idea, cause this left Leon with free reign to reallocate every bit of valuable stuff that wasn't bolted down. After this bit of Viking roleplay, it was time for Leon to continue on his journey towards the lake. On this journey, he was ambushed by some villagers who seemed to not yet have learned the lesson that a gun beats knife. And there it is, the lake. Here Leon found something truly special. Someone who didn't want to tear his flesh to pieces. Two people actually, although I guess that second guy was not that nice. At this point the first chapter ended and I discovered two things. First of all, holy fuck Leon, you just fucking massacred that entire village. And secondly, holy shit, the game keeps track of my kills for me. Sadly, it didn't do this quite to the extent I needed it, but it was helpful nonetheless. When Leon awoke, he found himself slightly chained up on the wrong side of the lake. But seeing as the word restraint does clearly not exist in Leon's dictionary, he got out of there before Big Daddy could come back to inject him with some more kinky viruses. Along his way back to the village, Leon discovered a fort that apparently the remaining villagers had retreated to, because presumably they thought that they might stand a chance against this maniac. Unfortunately for them, being technologically impaired really came back to bite them in the ass this time. Just a little bit before this, Leon got his hands on a 100-year-old battle rifle from some shady dude in an alleyway, and he seemed very determined to test this rifle out on the poor villagers' foreheads. There were some other minor hiccups along the way, but nothing serious. He managed to get back to the village intact, where he encountered the first non-human enemies of the game. A bunch of good old demon dogs, which I will be counting separately from humans. After that it was straight on to the church, where Ashley was held inside, but some asshole locked the church. So Leon had to fight his way through a bunch more people, a big old fish, all just to get the key for the church. Along the way he tried selling some of his stuff to that shady looking fellow, but discovered he's a fucking scammer that's only willing to pay him pawn shop rates for his obviously very valuable stolen treasures. But hey, no bother, cause look at it, a mission successful, baby eagle has been retrieved. Now we can go home. Sell the treasure, start a family. Oh yeah, we still have to get to the extraction point, right. But I can almost taste my front door. And at this point in the story I felt like I missed some plot point. Cause instead of going to get into the chopper, the duo gets chased into a house where they meet that one friendly guy from earlier, Luis, which in Spanish is apparently a guy's name. And to no one's surprise, with some very useful help from Luis, Leon managed to get rid of most of the chasers. Okay, now Leon can finally get to the... Oh, for fuck's sake. Apparently this dick is back and insists on a 1v1. Pulls the classic Resident Evil move of transforming into a horrific demon and still manages to die from his one weakness, catching 100 bullets in the face. So now, there we are, the castle? It was at this point I got so confused I had to look up the story, and apparently in the original game, the chopper that's supposed to retrieve you is shot down. You are then told by Big Bad Guy that Big Dick McGee from earlier has infected you with a parasite. Lois then tells you he can cure you in his laboratory, and that he's waiting inside of a courtyard somewhere inside the castle. So that means Leon has a new goal. Make his way through the world's most gigantic castle, which is ironically owned by this tiny little woman, which is apparently a man according to the lore, but which once again is something they changed for some reason between the original game and the remake. Fuck it, I'll just call him Gremlin. So Gremlin over here is so kind to introduce the new and improved peasant, now with added armor. How advanced. Leon then goes on to fight his way through the castle, with Ashley following close behind, all the while finding a bunch more treasure. And then, about halfway through the castle, the plot truly starts to break down, cause good old evil Lord Sadler decides that this, of all times, is the moment to mind control Ashley through the parasite and just walk her away from Leon. Why didn't he do this earlier? What the fuck, man? Anyway, Leon goes on to fight the increasingly more disturbing peasants. It's also here that he encounters the one enemy of this game that's actually scary. This disturbing little spider that makes other people storm at you. I mean, if you just ignore the story, this game is awesome. Well, for me, not for Leon. When Leon gets to the end of the castle, he finds another fucking castle. And who do we find inside? Ashley fucking Graham. Welcome back to the Leon Express. And then finally, halfway through the second castle, look, it's the courtyard. A psych, you thought it's just a maze filled with a bunch of bloodthirsty dogs that happens to look like a courtyard. So there Leon goes again, murdering his way through the castle, solving a little puzzle, and you guessed it, getting separated from Ashley once again. Okay, this time Ashley actually gets away and does some badassery on her own, but still, why? Where did the story go? I miss it, please bring it back. And then when she manages to free Leon, she gets captured again. And Leon is forced to continue his journey to the magical courtyard that definitely exists all on his own. And oh yeah, those harness men Ashley was running away from, well, they don't like Leon either. When making his way through the castle, he finds another type of enemy, proud inhabitant of the Hive, that caused this whole biological disaster to begin with, and kills about a couple busloads worth of the guys in this room alone. Then he gets to another castle. Seriously, is this just a fucking onion? In the castle, he finds Ashley about to be force-fed some weird fluid, and gets captured and thrown down a dark pit of despair. Down here there's some sort of weird ice research lab, with strange holes in the wall. Wonder what those are used for. Holy shit! It's literally a xenomorph, which is I think the only enemy you fight and don't actually kill in the whole game. The ice hell leads to a mine in which you find Louise? What the hell happened to our date in the courtyard? I have no idea, but well, better late than never. The duo then fight their way through the mine by murdering a bunch more mine workers and end up in a big room with two giants Leon fought earlier, but apparently didn't kill. Well, it is at this moment that Lois decides to pull his only competent move of the entire game, and Leon sends the giants straight to hell. Straight to hell. Killed them the old-fashioned way, because apparently he doesn't understand how this particular game mechanic works. The guys then take the technologically impaired version of the metro back to the castle. Then Lois gets killed by some weird dude from an earlier game, and Leon then has to carry on all alone to the 10,000th fucking castle. In this one, Mr. Gremlin is actually present, and even willing to fight over the girl, which in the meantime is transported to a tiny little island. Unlike the previous bosses, Leon has had about enough of this little dipshit and his fucking infinite castle, and shoot him straight in the head. This move was very ineffective. But as we all know, quantity will win over quality as long as the quantity is high enough. Certainly if this quantity is directed straight into your victim's weirdly undulating eyeballs. So the gremlin dies and leaves behind some rouge. I don't know why, but that's fucking funny. And with the death of its keeper, Leon finally moves from the castle to the island to chase after Ashley. Here, all the peasants get promoted once again, this time to something resembling present-day soldiers. Still wielding melee weapons though. Whilst fighting your way back to Ashley, you encounter the last new enemy of the game. This big white blob with suspiciously sharp teeth. This is also the first enemy in a while that gives Leon the slightest bit of trouble. That's of course until he obtains wall hacks and is able to 360 no-scope the fuck out of these blobs as well. From there it's a straight shot to Ashley once again, who's this time around not looking all too hot. Luckily, Leon remembers that just before Louise died, he gave him a temporary antidote, which means Ashley's back in business in no time. Now the only thing left to do is get to the laboratory and run away. Then though fuck it's Lord Saddler again, whom suddenly remembers that he still got those neat little mind control abilities from earlier, and shows off just how cool those powers are. Because of this, Leon finds himself once again murdering his way through a bunch of peasants and a wild Krauser to get to the exact same situation as before. Only this time, some other spy I didn't mention yet because she hasn't done fuck all game, saves the day. And then Saddler does this. Yeah, I have no idea what that is. So Leon is finally able to get to the lab with Ashley. Leon and Ashley are able to free each other from their parasites, which technically I guess is a kill for Leon, so I'm gonna count that. And whilst they could definitely go now, of course as final act Leon feels the need to save that spy girl, because apparently he does have a form of conscience after all. This leads him to show off against the final boss, Lord Saddler himself, who is not at all as hard as that other dude back at the castle. But hey, bada bing, bada, you're fucking dead now. The day is saved, and Leon and Ashley ride off into the sunset. And everybody lives happily ever after. Except for the villagers. They're still dead. Speaking about that, after looking through like 15 hours of footage, I was able to dissect the total amount of things you kill into the different enemy types. But I do have to say, take it with a little grain of salt. Of them, by far the least rare are the flying insects. But overall, there's still a tiny percent of the total. And who cares about the non-humans anyway? So how many people did Leon have to kill on his mission to save one girl. What's the collateral damage? Well, if I counted correctly, 765 people, give or take the way you play through the game. Cause you could probably sneak by some people, which other people would kill on other runs. Plus the few kills I counted throughout the cutscenes. If we then recall the village with the farm and the surrounding houses, I feel very comfortable to say that Leon killed every single last one of them. If we then look at the totals, we come to the total of 914 kills for Leon Kennedy. A successful mission indeed. I also kept track of my deaths. I died a total of 30 times. But let's forget about that, that doesn't count. Now, there's one more little thing we have to settle, and that's how much money did Leon steal? I mean, borrow from the villagers he killed, in terms of treasure. Well, because this guy's a fucking scammer, I never sold a single piece of treasure. Did this fuck me over during the playthrough of my game? Abso-fucking-lutely. But hey, guess who will be laughing all the way to the bank? In total, Leon got his hands over 1,000,000 fucking schmeckles worth of treasure. I would also like to give a bit of a channel update. First of all, I've been very busy the last couple of weeks, mainly with uni, but also with building a brand new PC from scratch, which is now finally up and running. For the coming videos, this should mainly mean a higher quality recording for you, and way less lag during editing for me. And with regards to this video, I don't know whether I want to turn this into a series, but I do think this format is a very nice addition to the population series. Because especially with story games, that format doesn't work all too well. If you want, I'd love to hear some feedback about what you think of this type of video. Either way, thanks for watching and hopefully see you next video. Bye bye!